Let's see. Of course. Uh, all right. I guess we should be live. Can you guys hear me? I hope you do. We should be. Yeah, that seems right. So,
I
welcome.
hesitate to unmute the channel and find out.
I'm muted and I can actually hear something. Hello, everyone. Lovely Prime Night and Art Party. Doing a little bit different today. First time I'm doing a solo one without Besic to wrangle my boomerisms, so we can only see what happens. Will I set fire to this poor planet we call Earth, or will this actually go well? With me, I have James Krake, a very soon to be a famous novelist. Introduce yourself.
Well, hopefully it's sooner rather than later because, yeah, I'm a self-published author. I currently have 2 science fiction books out as well as a fantasy web novel. But the science fiction is the better quality product, which is why I charge for that on Amazon. And I'm just starting out, building a network, and trying to establish myself and get an audience and so on, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Well, it's all.
Just came out on Monday.
Yeah, and you also your second book, right? What you call it?
Yes. The second one is Ship of Fools, spelled Fuls.
Yeah, so I wrote it correctly in the description, right?
Adjacent. Sorry.
Sorry. So I wrote it correctly in the description, right?
Let me read the description and find out.
One way to figure out.
Yes, both of those are correct.
Lovely.
So my first book that came out in February was a cyberpunk detective story, kind of noir, and that followed the murder investigation of an unidentified person in a city that is completely surveilled by the government, which means you shouldn't be able to have an unidentified body, and that's where the mystery kicks off.
Huh. So that sounds a bit realistic. I like it.
Well, it depends on the city. You know, if you're talking like London or Seoul, Korea, or Tokyo, or so on, or several Chinese cities, yeah, there's it's pretty much modern day. But if you've managed to avoid the mega cities, then constant, forever surveillance of everything you do ever isn't exactly the norm.
Nah. It's not like this in Norway, luckily, yet.
Yet.
You never know. You never know. But hopefully we avoid that. But hey, at least it makes for a good story, eh?
Yeah, so we will actually get into that with the topic you wanted to talk about of how to create stories and what I do when I think about them when I'm like outlining and fleshing out the concept.
Yeah?
But really quick, the second book that came out on Monday is Ship of Fools. That is a far future military sci-fi book that it opens right after the peace is signed in Interstellar War, and then the war doesn't stop.
Oh.
One faction in it is still attacking, and the main character ends up stranded on a refugee ship that has to hide in deep space, hoping to be rescued. And it kind of goes Lord of the Flies from there as people start to disagree about who should be in charge of the ship.
Oh. Well, that takes a turn. Okay, that kind of stuff I really like. I like this I like the whole survival in deep space on a ship. Gives a bit of a Ishimuro vibe if it was just scuttled instead of being invaded by monsters.
Well, they're not scuttled. What they are is without weapons. Because it's essentially a civilian ship, and the star system they're at is being contested because it basically has oil. It has far future spaceship oil, and the factions that need to control the production of that. And they send in ships that just have hyper velocity nuclear missiles that it only takes one to blow up a civilian ship. Like whatever. Because in hard sci-fi, you will end up with basically submarine warfare of don't get spotted, shoot a missile into them as fast as you can.
Yeah, that is basically how I view sci-fi battles too. I mean, I love Star Wars battles, but in the end, it's gonna be more like a submarine battle. But you can get the fighter battles if you use a drone, so you can get like Star Warsy with the droid battles at least. But that's just me, maybe.
It takes a number of very particular like assumptions about engines and energy production and so on to justify fighters.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm too quiet.
You're too quiet. All right.
But I agree that fighters are awesome.
How about now?
Yeah, is my voice volume better now?
I hope so. Just keep talking. Maybe we can find out something. Let's see.
So anyways, fighters are cool, but it's really hard to justify like a fighter ship instead of just a missile, or a slug that you shoot at them at such a high percentage speed of light that you basically can't see it coming in time.
Right.
When it comes to action, like I prefer it when it's more personal and at the human scale. In Ship of Fools, the main character is basically Master Chief from Halo. He's a space ranger. He's special ops, genetically engineered, specially trained, et cetera. And the fun fighting is between him and like relatively human-sized robots and so on.
Oh.
Which is also what I get to do with my cyberpunk setting, Bastion.
Really now? Huh. Oh, I gotta admit, I haven't gotten to your books yet, but I'm really tempted to get into it. I'm more of an audiobook guy myself since I rarely take the time to read books anymore. So
I understand. Audiobooks are great.
Yes.
They cost a lot of money to get a good voice actor, though.
Yeah. Though there are hopefully some freelance that are doing well. I mean, I found one recently on YouTube that's pretty good.
Well, that would be impressive if so, because the ones I find on YouTube are usually like good enough to listen to the book for free. Oh. I listened to Bronze Age Mindset on YouTube for free because I could. I'm not sure he quite recreated all the typos. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bronze Age Mindset.
I am unfortunately not. I'm a bit of a scrub when it comes to things. I'm a bit limited in what I consume these days because I'm just scared of just everything being the same trash we get nowadays. If there's a thing I really love, it is Dresden Files at the moment. That's my favorite book series, something I will keep singing the praises of until the day I probably catch fire.
Well, yeah, we talked about that in Christopher's stream the other week. And yeah, I need to give the second book a try since you all conclusively said that Stormfront was the worst.
Oh yeah, it is the worst in the series. It is the dullest because you can clearly tell that the main character the writer hasn't quite found his pace yet. And as you get into Full Moon, you start to really see, okay, it's going somewhere. And then when you get to the third one, which is Grave Peril, you start to see where he's getting comfortable. The first 5 books are basically just him flexing his muscles, creating a world to be in, and then the rest is just a wonderful goddamn ride. Emotional roller coaster.
I can't blame him for doing that because that's kind of what I'm doing with my Cyberpunk series. The first one, in a lot of ways, Faceless, is me establishing the world.
Yeah.
It's not my first manuscript in the setting, but I think that Faceless is the best primer to the world that I can do. And I already have the sequel drafted out. And that'll be with beta readers soon. And my goal is to get that out sometime around New Year's or Christmas.
Yeah.
The people who have seen it already have all conclusively said that it blows Faceless out of the water.
Awesome.
So, I can't fault, it's Jim Butcher that does Dresden Files, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't fault him for starting a series as soon as he could, and then getting good as he went. That's, pretty much what I'm doing. So, I will give it another try. I'm currently working on Dan Abnett's Eisenhorn trilogy.
Ooh.
I'm a huge Abnett fanboy.
I mean, that is understandable. I haven't really gone through much of it, but Eisenhorn is that's that inquisitorial story, isn't it?
It's Xenos, Malleus, and I'm currently in Hereticus.
Right.
He's fighting a battle titan.
Oh. Well, I'm a bit here and there on the Warhammer books because I do read. I don't read, but I've listened to some of the stories and audiobooks. And for most of it, I've just listened to Arch's lore breakdowns. I'm kind of basic when it comes to that.
When I run out of Abnett books, I'll read or I'll watch some of Arch's breakdowns. But I will eventually get to go to Gaunt's Ghosts. And didn't he also write Horus Heresy? Or is that someone else?
I'm not quite certain. As I said, I'm really bad at getting into it, as I've just been through Arch on it. Huh. I'm not as much of an aficionado as I should be, and I bow down before the superior nerd in this one. Oh.
Anyways, so I'm working on the Bastion Blackstone series as a series. I've got plenty installments planned, and taking some inspiration from the Sherlock Holmes stuff. The idea is each book is one case essentially. The first one is how's there an unidentified body in Bastion?
Right.
And the sequel will be a manhunt. Short version of, I'll have the teaser up soon enough. Kid breaks a beer bottle over another kid's head. Oops, the victim there is the son of a congressman.
Oh,
now there's a manhunt for attempted murder.
Oh boy.
And he has to escape the city that you can't leave because Bastion is a walled city.
Okay. Walled cities can be really interesting settings.
Yeah. It doesn't play a big role in Faceless. There's just grander narratives going on that I'm building into with that, but the reason it's walled off is because there's a plague outside.
Right.
And they put the walls up. They have a stable city. Government's in control. They don't want to lose that control, and they've kept it that way.
Well, as they do. I mean, the last thing they want to give up is control. Sorry.
Pretty much. Bastion is a conspiracy theory-ridden setting, and I love playing with conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I'm a big Alex Jones fan just for the memes of it, to be honest.
Yeah, do you think Alex Jones would mind if I had a caricature of him in my setting?
Honestly, I think he would just embrace it. I am 90% sure that a lot of the things he does is just for the meme at this point.
Maybe. I don't watch InfoWars, but like whenever he does something astounding, I do hear about it. Like everything that went on with Epstein, basically.
Yeah.
Basically, I get the memes of Alex Jones without the original content, as it were.
Yeah, I'm not big on watching stuff because it becomes a bit too much for me. Also, the whole project thing they do for themselves is something that just kind of tunes me out.
You don't like him as a water filter salesman?
I do like the way he does it, but when I watch something, I just don't like commercials in general because I'm weird like that.
So, by the way, I'm watching you draw right now, and you seem to be doing it some cyberpunk gunslinger girl, right?
Trying desperately. This is the first time I actually do a woman, so who knows? Okay, that
This is your
sounded
first time.
much.
That's where all the
That's
money is.
it sounded fucking weird. God. Nothing changes.
I was just watching you do it, and I thought you were doing like a partial buzz cut until you like added some kind of skull plate there.
Yeah, I ended up doing the same, and then I was like, fuck it, I want to do something else. This is not pre-planned, by the way. This is just completely impromptu.
Right on. But I just don't understand the aesthetic appeal of the like half skull buzz on women.
Me either. It's just some can make it work, but it's just some don't wear it as well as others. There are some that really fits it, but I don't know.
I don't know, maybe my tastes are just completely corrupted by anime because I like the long hair.
I mean, hello. I'm not a stranger to the cultured world.
And you say this is your first time drawing one.
No, the thing is, I'm not a stranger to watching it. I'm a bit too like, my stuff is a bit too cringe. I don't want to fucking try it because God knows what the result might be.
Maybe that's something you need to draw on your own time and figure out if you're good enough to stream doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically using you as a trial dummy here, so who knows?
Okay, so anyways, you were talking that you were considering getting back into writing and giving it a try, right?
Yes, I've made a half effort on a short story, or rather, I made an effort on a short story, but I'm a little bit mixed on the results, so we'll see if I ever publish or show it off.
So let me turn it around on you, because you asked me how I go about planning a story. But the answer to that, it lies in this question. When you pick up a book, or an audiobook, or a movie, what makes you want to finish it?
It is basically the main character and how he goes through the plot, basically. In Dresden, it is essentially the mystery, but after the mystery is established, it just is what is going to happen, how is Harry involved in this, and how is he just going to stop this apparently unstoppable force in front of him. And in the later parts, it's like, okay, how is he going to make this political fucking thing happen? It's a lot of like in-universe politics between the different supernatural fucking worlds. It's a bit hard to describe, really. I just, when I like a story and I get really invested.
It's at the really general level. A story poses the reader a question, such as, who killed this guy? Where did these vampires come from, or something? Or one of the plots of the Dresden Files. Or there are other questions like, are these two characters going to get together and get married?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you read the story, you get that question answered.
That is
That is how the story has to be plotted, is to give that answer piece by piece until it gets concluded.
Yeah, it's I say it like that. Dalek mode.
Yeah, that's why you can get the romance book formula, and it's like 3 dates, a breakup, a love confession, darkest hour after the love confession, and then happily ever after.
Yeah.
And that's like the formula, is because the question at the start is, are A and B actually, I still haven't read Pride and Prejudice. It's on my to-read list. Are they going to get together? And you show them a date where they get along, another date where they get along better, and then you have them. You threaten that relationship with, but maybe it won't happen because here's a problem. And then you show that they want it to happen, and then you give them the final problem to overcome, and then the answer. Now they're married.
That does make sense. So people say that you're roboting a bit. I don't hear it myself, so that's already a first fucking snag. Let's see.
Now, I don't know if I have anything in my power to change any roboting.
Let's see. I don't.
I have a microphone directly plugged into my desktop, which is Ethernet connected to my modem.
Right. I'm gonna try something. Give me half a second.
Sure. I'm gonna go get another beer.
Lovely. There we go. That has to be on. That has to be on. Ah, it's better now? Lovely. Just closed a lot of different windows. I suspect it could be draining some of the Wi-Fi. Let's see.
Oh, good point. I can close plenty of things.
Yeah. Sometimes it just eats
I've got
up the signal.
Crunchyroll tab open. I've got Getter open, which, by the way, y'all should follow me on Getter if you're hearing this. I'm at James Krake on Getter.
Yeah, just you can send me the link and I'll post it for you.
Will do.
Lovely. Let's see, should we go for like human legs or should I just go for all cybernetic legs? Ah, fuck it. Let's give it a shot.
Normally, I say go to my website, jameskrake.com, and join my mailing list, but that's currently scuffed, so don't do that.
Oh. Well, the one I have open is the one in your description. It works.
The website works. The mailing list doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah. It turns out because of international scam laws, they need physical addresses associated with mailing lists, and I don't think a PO box suffices. So I don't know.
It's never enough, huh? For the powers that be.
Honestly, that is the horror of the modern day, of like accidental oppression. Like laws made for one thing that haven't been updated to the current situation and just get like hammered down on you because that's what government does.
Oh yeah, so the EU approach, as I call it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of
that's
the
a
EU.
whole nother subject.
Oh yeah. But basically they're like the big gov that just keeps on pushing down. Inspires a lot of BS. And also they do make good inspiration for dystopian fiction.
You know, I'm tempted to write some stories in the horrific future of Europe in the timeline of Bastion.
Oh yeah. Just don't screw over Norway, okay? I don't need too many black pills.
Okay. So anyways, the keeping the reader baited along to continue the story is like the core of how to structure a story.
Right.
And the obvious meat on those bones is you need to make them like the character, because a lot of the stakes is not like, if you pull up like a 10-cent explanation of like how to tell a gripping story that your reader can't put down, they always talk about up the stakes, which is why you get like the Marvel problem of, oh well, at first it was robbers on the street, and then all of all of New York City is going to get blown up by aliens, and all of Earth is going to get blown up, and then half the universe is going to die if they don't stop Thanos, and then the entire multiverse is going to unravel.
Yeah, you just get burned out in the end. I mean, it's
because that's not actually the mechanism. I think that's entirely a product of people trying to explain a phenomenon that they don't themselves understand. Because what you have to do is you have to make the reader or the consumer care about the characters more, and then you put what the character wants in jeopardy. And you get into a question of how badly do they want the thing, how much jeopardy, how much risk is there, which is why you can have an incredibly compelling story where the only stakes are, do these two people hook up? And that can be a more gripping story than holy shit, Godzilla is attacking Hawaii.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, there's actually a... Though there are stories where you can like have really up stakes, but it's all in a set in a personal thing. Like, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but Changes is kind of like that. The book, the part of the Dresden Files that is Changes, do not research that before you start the series, because that is one of
I never.
That is a good, because Changes is... It is properly named, let's put it like that, and it is honestly one of my favorite books in the entire series.
Okay. I just recently read or listened to The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea by Yukio Mishima.
Right?
Are you familiar with that particular Japanese author?
I am not. I haven't done much reading in the Japanese sphere.
Well, let me put it this way. If I had read a synopsis, or even like a complete summary, I probably would not have bought the book.
Really?
It is a bizarre and disturbing novella. But because I went in completely blind, it worked really well.
Huh. Yeah, the best series I enjoy are those who I just try on, or from word of mouth from other people.
Unfortunately, that can definitely backfire. Like, I've definitely gone on Twitter and gone, hey, I need to read a lit RPG. I need to change genres and get something else in my diet here. And I get, like, a slew of recommendations, and I just go through them. It's like, crap. Well, that's crap. This is horrible. I mean, all right, the jokes here are funny, but the structure is non-existent. Doesn't always work.
Nah, I usually go by friends or people who are really... The best part to find a certain series is to see what do I want to listen to, or listen to in terms of somebody recommending it. Because there are certain themes that I'm not a big fan of, but some people, friends or people I know, can just really sell it to me. It's how I got into the sphere of malice.
You already said you're a weeb, right?
Huh?
You already said you're a weeb, right?
To a certain extent, yes.
Do you watch / read Made in Abyss?
No, I don't dare to get into that because it will break my heart.
Okay,
but I love the art style.
Exactly alike mind.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't watch a series where the entire concept is sending small children to their death.
Yeah, and then just suffering. I mean, I like seeing characters going through suffering in a way that builds them up as a person, but fuck me, that is just too much. I mean, just a scene where that girl melts into oh god. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I did not watch the final episode, like the hour-long episode at the end of season 1. I don't remember a girl melting.
Nah, it's a part of that. It's just horrible. If I get curious with a series, but I don't know if it'll be worth my investment, I just watch through clips, because if I'm not sold on something, I don't mind spoilers completely, right? So I'm not against being spoiled, and if I like what I see, I tend to just I'm able to get into the story without too much problems, basically. It's how I got into Dresden Files. I had because I heard through half of the 4th book to begin with, and then I started from scratch.
You you remind me of my brother, because my brother and I will watch currently airing anime. We make it a weekly affair, and it's a great time. But he will just Google the answer to every plot question and make sure he likes the answer and then watch it. And I'm just like, but if you know the answer, why are you watching it?
It's about investment. If it doesn't really catch me, but I still think about it a bit, I do a little bit of research. But not much. I never destroy it, if you know what I'm saying. It's just that It's,
Well, you have a more reasonable position than he does. He will literally check, we'll be in episode 2, and he'll be Googling, does main character have sex with main girl? And he's like, and if they don't, and if he finds out that the main character ends up with someone else, he's like, I'm done with this.
Nah. To me, it's just to make sure that it's not some kind of bullshit like Redo Healer. Checking the theme is all.
I mean, hold on. You should have known Redo of a Healer was pornographic from the
No,
game.
I'm not talking about pornographic. I have no problem with pornographic. It is just everything with it's just rape, revenge rape porn. That's it. It's just, oh, rape. Oh, hey, another thing, rape. Oh, look, more rape. It's just, do something creative. Fucking edgelord. Sorry.
So there is a strange phenomenon that I keep brushing up against, and that is feeding the reader's expectations. Because there are so many people trying to make it and get famous with writing and so on, that you can languish. Like video game streamers. There are huge name video game streamers getting millions of subscribers and billions of views every month. And if you actually catch them with a question of what's your advice for someone starting out, they'll often just say this, it's basically luck. You have to keep doing it for years in obscurity, and you have to enjoy being obscure.
Yeah.
And maybe something will trigger, and you will suddenly hit the algorithm and become famous.
Basically.
And that's kind of what happens with writing. You can write story after story after story and have, say, 70 followers, which is pretty much my follower count in Royal Road. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your quality. Because, you can be good, but if people don't take the time to check it out and they don't take the time to talk about the fact that they like your story, you'll just never get discovered. So if you start a series that's like, holy crap, this is the most shocking non-con scene I've ever found in my life on this website, that gets people to talk about it, and then people show up to read the most degenerate revenge, non-consensual lovemaking that the site has to offer. And then that's what you have to give them more of, because consumers are kind of dumb like that.
Yeah.
I know it's not a good idea to be insulting people I'm trying to get money out of, but
yeah, but when is the truth though? I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a fucking idiot myself, so you're not insulting me here.
Well, it's why people keep showing up to Marvel, even though every Marvel movie is pretty much bad.
Yeah, it is.
They keep showing up for a known quantity.
Yeah. But the thing is, so even if you start a bit harsh, you just can't start too hard with a story. If people do that, I just lose interest, because I know that, they peak here. There's not going to be anything else to to just follow, to look at, to experience.
Well, the other example I can pull up is Shield Hero. Shield Hero got famous because of the princess at the beginning.
Yeah,
right?
That bitch.
Fine. But by season 2, that's resolved, and the author is trying to explore other ideas they have. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And then you have to drag her back in another way. It's turns out she's this and that.
Yeah.
Shield Hero is an example of one of those series where any kind of curiosity I have for it is just shallow, so I just I just check the wiki or whatever. It's not.
And I'll actually say the third variation of this issue is Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnator.
What the hell is that?
Because it's actually like the inverse. Because from what I can tell from watching the anime and reading the manga, he's one of the most competent fantasy authors out there right now.
Really?
Well, you can tell this is a fully realized, fully understood world with complex characters, and the growth is there. And it's a really good story. However, the author is a degenerate. And he's writing a degenerate main character.
Takes one to know one.
Well, Rudius Greyrat is literally a pedophile. Like, that's literally his character trait, is he's a pedophile.
Oh, God.
So you're just watching it. It's like some of the best animation available right now, and it's like a fantastic story of family and struggling and being forced into maturity before he's old enough, and this, that, and the other thing. And then, oh, by the way, the Demon King is an 8-year-old lolly in spandex.
Of course.
What?
Nah, it's just, you can make things work, you can make some stuff entertaining, but if people are just trying to make something purely on edge factor, it just loses all kind of value, in my opinion.
Well, hold on. Chainsaw Man is great, and that is like 99% edge factor.
Yeah, but it is thought through in many, at least it seems thought through in many aspects. I mean, like when you start getting into the different devils, and how they just, he's not afraid of taking characters out, but it's in an impactful way that doesn't just seem for the shock factor, you know? There are people sacrificing themselves. There are people who are making efforts to make better, you know?
I know what anime scarred you.
What?
I'm putting money down right now. You're upset about Akame ga Kill.
Huh?
Right? Did you watch Akame ga Kill?
Nah, I avoided that because it's just, oh, hey, we're doing this and this. It's exactly the same reason. It's the same shit that I view it as the same kind of stuff that's like redo Healer, just less rapey. It's just an edgelord fantasy thing.
Yeah, I am still mad over Akame ga Kill.
It's pretty bad. It's really, really bad. The only reason I'm actually watched some of it is because there's this abridged show on YouTube that actually does it, and it's kind of fun. Dark humor, but hey, it works. But yeah, I don't just like people being edgy for the sake of edgy, and I don't like stories where they're trying to put I don't know. It's hard to say. You can do overpowered right, but it's hard to say. There's nothing with that show that clicks for me, you know?
Yeah, there's just kind of this issue of, I kind of mentioned it, how do you get people to talk about the story? And one of the ways is to be edgy and shocking.
Yeah, but you can't be edgy without being shit. At least I believe that.
You can, and you can also be, I would say, gross without being revolting, because like there's a reason in Chapter 1 of Faceless, I go into detail describing the corpse.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically like a flex. It is to show the reader as fast as possible, I can describe something that will make you go, ugh. Now keep reading because I know what I'm doing. Now that I've bought credibility from you by grossing you out with the corpse, I'm now going to give you a proper story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that gets my attention. Like, here's one thing that actually kind of... an example of that for me, if we're gonna go to the world of anime again, Fullmetal Alchemist, the 2003 version. There were a lot of those moments, but the one that really got me, it's a bit further in though, But the one that got me most was when Lust was following that guy into the village of people who turned to stone.
Wait, that's way late, isn't it?
That is way late, but you had these like the bird man, you know, the guy who was half human, half bird. Then he had the regeneration of the different homunculi. It was just so well. But the thing that really got me into the whole interest in the macabre was that scene with the people turning to stone, because they showed it off in a way that just shocked me as a teenager, but it wasn't the kind of thing where I just, oh, gross. It fucking scared me, terrified me, but in a way that made me want to come back for it. I wanted more.
Yeah, so it's really important to do stuff like that. And I think it's most obvious, basically, maybe this is just personal issues talking right now, but like trying to get noticed on Twitter. Because I have a Twitter account that I'm trying to grow because it is a free avenue of marketing my books. But there's like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 maybe other authors on Twitter doing the exact same thing. Everyone sounds the exact same. Everyone is like, I swear half the people are using the exact same cover companies because all their books look the same. And you get 200 characters, which are half eaten up by the link, the title, and your name.
Yeah.
There's no way to stand out.
There isn't. Hopefully there can be a way when Elon Musk takes over, make something interesting out of it.
So that carries over to like someone starting a book. Is like a lot of people check the blurb, they check the back of the cover, they check reviews, they check the first few pages, and you have to do something that sets you apart from the masses, at least perceived to be apart from the masses.
Yeah.
Ardent, no, I am not going to start drama on Twitter. It's a bad idea.
And here's the reason why I like James, everybody.
Thank you.
He's got the thing called standards. Whatever the hell that is. Well, I mean, I tried once to get into the whole artist Twitter, but it's not really a thing I want to get into. So I just do this instead. I mean, I started this YouTube channel because Disco, Besek, Bleach, basically half the people here already, and most of the people in the Sultans, mostly threaten me on the pain of death. And also I think it's fun to draw, so I'm like, why not? Now that I already have a gun to my head, why not just do it?
Wait, how much hate do you get?
Not hate. It's friendly banter and bullying, masked as death threats from friends. It is nothing horrible, terrible. It's just that, you know.
Prime tonight. I'm also not planning to take particularly contentious positions on politics. Although, obviously, my books do touch on political subjects. Like, Faceless is about privacy, and it's about government surveillance. But I don't try to come to a conclusion about it either. It's more like this is the trend that's happening. This is what society might look like as the trend progresses. How do you, the reader, feel about that? And I don't think anyone's going to get in a heated debate about privacy. Having something to say, though, and something to discuss is like what I think is the correct way to do a theme for a story. Some people can like try too hard to hit a theme because they want to be deep and literary, and it obviously just doesn't work.
It's more important to have fun, isn't it? To enjoy what you're making.
You know, with my web novel, and I had another one last year that I discontinued because I didn't think it was working very well.
All right.
People could tell which chapters I had fun writing.
Well, that's good.
You know, like like there would be a chapter of like, the main character has to go pick up a book for the woman he's working for, and it turns out it's like a Fujoshi light novel, and he's just getting like assaulted with questions by the bookstore owner. I had a great time writing that chapter. People messaged me going, "You really liked this, didn't you?"
Nice. Let's see.
So,
huh. You know, maybe a smile looks better on her than without a smile.
smiles usually do look better.
Yes.
One second, I gotta go let my dog out.
That's all right. Oh, I gotta be honest about one thing. It's best not to try and start your career by just start pissing in the flakes of everyone. In my opinion, if you ever get into the whole politics thing, do it because you've been forced into it and no other reason to it, unless you're like a very politically minded man. I mean, that's how Crowder got off. That's how Carl got off in Lotus Eaters.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to try and avoid that.
Good.
But there's something to be said for writing a story that has something to think about in it.
Yeah.
Like that Ship of Fools is the name comes from Plato's Republic. He has the allegory of the Ship of Fools, spelled correctly, as his description of a democracy. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a ship at night where the captain can't see and all the crew think they should be in charge.
Ah. Huh. As a sailor, there's some familiarity in that one.
Oh, hopefully you don't read Ship of Fools and just go like, James, what in the hell is this? You don't know the first thing about ships. Holy shit.
I'm pretty sure maritime and space won't be the same in a way. But then again, it's like, you look at a guy who prefer fucking Star Wars over Star Trek here, so realism in my sci-fi is not a must. Just be consistent with your own internal universe and you'll have me fucking hooked.
I believe I am perfectly consistent, although I made a strange assumption in both Faceless and Ship of Fools, because they're actually canon to each other, just 1,000 years separate.
Ooh.
I think that as computer systems and as artificial intelligence improves, because the spaceship has an AI,
right.
Bastion is ruled by an AI, like the first AI, and all of her clones that she programs to do specific tasks.
Huh.
With those advents, what's going to happen is a reduction in management structures. I think that what's going to happen is one person will be able to manage more people because there's going to be more automated systems to do that. Because, like, you know, how big of a ship are you on?
It's about 125 meters long and 23 meters wide.
So, how big is the crew?
We are about 60, and there's 400 guests.
So, aside from, I don't think anything will ever change the amount of people needed to serve people. Like, I think the economy is slowly going to shift towards the service industry as manufacturing gets automated rather than, offshored. Everyone's going to end up in, like, food and medical eventually.
Yeah,
but,
that is something that's never going to fucking die out, even if everybody in that industry wants it to die out.
Yeah, unfortunately. But the actual systems of the ship, like, managing the engine, the propulsion, the steering, and so on, as the computer systems just get more and more and more robust in, like, their own self-maintenance and own self-management,
right.
It's going to reduce to, like, you need one person who's highly trained and they probably don't even do anything. They're just there in case a decision needs to be made. I think it's completely reasonable that you're going to get to a point where the ship needs like 3 people.
Yeah.
Like, aside from helping the passengers, like the actual ship is like.
It's already kind of like that because the bridge is it's completely automated. It's just the thing about maritime is that you need so many fail-safes. We cannot trust the mechanical, and the autopilot on the ship is pretty damn accurate, but there are mistakes that require a human hand, and there's always going to be need for that. And on the bridge, I mean, to steer the ship, you need about at least 3 people. The captain, the navigator, and another guy. I don't remember his name. And they always have a shift rolling. So there has to be, every time we're sailing, 3 people on the bridge. And that is a bridge alone. Then you have the engineers. Then you have the, cleaners and other services there too. There's always going to be need for people, no matter how automated. And you can have the most advanced automated maintenance ever, but it's never gonna nullify the need for people. There's always going to be a need for people.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's going to get to 0.
Nah.
But like the official crew on the Deimos, the ship and the ship of Fuls, is like 10 people or something like that.
Oh yeah, the skeleton crew of that is believable. That is highly believable.
Now, when they bring on 1,000 civilians, like the first thing they do is they press gang people with the appropriate skills. Because like, hey, who has medical information? Who's a doctor? Because guess what? We just did a 5G burn. All the old people are currently internally bleeding and need surgery.
Oh.
So that's basically part of how I got around needing a crew on the ship. Is like, well, yeah, the people on the ship got press ganged.
Yeah. As you can tell, I'm not really good at drawing hands, so. But yeah, it really makes sense with that one though. So yeah, you're low key hyping me up to reading this book of yours. Good. So how did you get into the whole I want to write a story though? Just that's something I really want to ask.
I was 6 years old on my grandfather's knee, trying to imitate the stories I was reading. And it never went away.
Yes, it is something from your childhood.
I made a serious attempt of it when the pandemic started, and I realized I was dissatisfied with my day job, and I started to seriously pursue writing. Fast forward to today, I have 2 books out. I got a 3rd with beta readers. I've got like 4 other manuscripts just sitting around. I think I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty good at what I do. But nice. Every author says they're good at it, right? So I try to defer to the ratings I have on like Amazon and Goodreads, and I have like a 4.5 on both of those.
Nice. Well, it's as soon as I'm able to read, or if you get an audiobook version of it, I'm definitely gonna get into it. But if not, I'm going to get into it. I'm gonna read your books one way or another, I swear to God.
I'd really appreciate it.
Let's see. Or maybe I can pay you to read them to me at my bedtime.
How much you paying?
There are options. Well, yeah. The thing is, just I love a good story. It doesn't really matter where it is, when it's timed, or what kind of theme it has. As long as it is something that engages me, I'm sold.
Yeah, I try to write stories that have fundamentally good main characters. Like good people, fundamentally.
Yeah. Like morally or good as in interesting?
Morally, actually.
That's good.
I read a book recently where was on the cover. The main character was sociopathic. I couldn't. I could not bring myself to root for her.
Nah.
And you see that by accident in other stories, where the person just never, like the main character just never does a virtuous deed. They're just entirely self-serving.
Oh, let me guess, Captain Marvel?
that it would be the classic movie example, yeah.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like, I don't like this person, therefore I don't care about the things they care about.
Yeah.
My third book is actually like a mix-up of a lot of ideas, because it's a heist, allegedly. Although it's a bit strange as heists go, because it's actually based on the GameStop short squeeze that happened in 2020.
Really?
Yeah. I've set it in a virtual reality MMO, and the main cast of characters are NPCs that figured out basically a mistake in the internal market, where one of the guilds took out like a triple down short position essentially on one of the main crafting ingredients for one of the meta like PvP builds.
Right.
So they hashed a scheme to like corner the market on that material before they have to buy it up, to spike the price up.
Nice.
So, on the one level, it's a heist. On the other, it's like an adventure, because in order to get the stuff that they're stealing, he needs like power level up and get to the point where he can like solo kill bosses and stuff. So there's adventure themes in there. But the character drama is like the main character is like the NPC from the tutorial zone that people encounter for one quest where he's a loser, and then they move on, never to see him again. He's never relevant again.
So they're aware. So they're aware.
Yes. Are you familiar with Yahtzee Crowshaw's Mog World?
Yeah, I read it, and I think it's pretty fun.
I liked Mog World, and it's basically the same thing. The NPCs are basically people.
Lovely.
And I allude to a lot of shit that went on regarding that, and there's like the NPC union treaty between the Queen of Hell and the CEO of the company to keep the game running. But the story is about the heist, and more than that, it's about him trying to prove that he's like significant. And one of his big issues is like he can't get the girl that he's pining for. And he, at the start, he's viewing it as like because he's poor and irrelevant, and then plot developments, he comes to terms with his own personal shortcomings and so on. Which is the purpose there is because he's supposed to be like a good enough person at the start and then better at the end, which theoretically makes the reader really get engaged with him and make him root for screwing over the system that is blatantly rigged against them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something I'd be interested in.
I think it's gonna be a great book. I think there's a lot of funny stuff. Like there's, assuming you're at least passingly familiar with like speed running and hacks and glitches.
I am.
And internal markets and such. I try to give the basic primer of these things in the story, but if you already know like basically how speedrunning works, because one of the characters is trying to get the world record of 1 to 100 leveling time, and he's always butting heads with the main character.
Oh. Huh.
All right, one second. I got mute. Let the dog in. I'll be right back.
All right.
Sorry.
See you later, Ardent. So, guys, what do you think so far? Is the drawing coming on nicely? Is subject interesting? Because I know I'm having fun. Thank you, Bleach. Enjoy the white pills. They are necessary in this day and age. Say hi to Disco from me. Unless you already left, and I'm speaking to the void. Void. You know, Angus is a bitch.
Back now.
Hello. So.
I got my next shandy too.
Nice.
I don't know what the weather is like where you're at, but it is so hot here.
Well, it used to be hot, but now it's been raining and cooling as we've just passed the warmest time of the year and the country is currently cooling down.
I'm jealous. I tried to sit on my back porch and read a book while throwing a ball for my dog. I tried. So, you know, I'm sitting. I got the thrift edition of Anton Chekhov's The Duel.
Right.
And I told my dog I'd play with her. And it's like 90 degrees, no breeze whatsoever. I sweated so much, my hand was damaging the paper from the sweat.
Ah, that fucking sucks. Again, why audiobooks are superior in some aspects, but Jeebus. Like, I like to take a walk every now and then, so I had to listen to podcasts or audiobooks when I do. And the best part with having a slightly chilled area is that you can just put on a jacket if it's too cold.
I cannot wait for fall. Like, in a couple weeks, this blinding heat will go away.
Yeah.
And it'll be like human temperatures again.
Something humane, something humanesque.
Yeah. So I live in Michigan, which, like, basically the joke is that we get some of the worst winters ever, and it's just blizzards and ice and endless cold gray skies.
Yeah.
And we definitely do have that for like 5 months of the year. But we also...
That sounds really familiar, just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, Michiganders are also like fine with it being cold. Because we know how to drive in the cold, unlike every other state in the freaking continent, apparently. But our summers are like deathly hot.
Oh yeah. I mean, I keep bitching about how hot it is when it's like 26 degrees Celsius here. And every time I speak to Bessic, who comes from one of the hottest countries on the planet, he just gets silent for a while and it bitches at me. I mean, I can understand why.
All right, so I've rambled a lot about story construction theory. Did you have a lingering question about that?
Not as much as I got really lost in the subject, and I was just having fun listening in there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Basically, I'm a really easy guy to entertain. Just keep the vocal version of dangling keys in front of my eyes, and I'll be enthralled.
Okay, so I'm just going to complain about something.
Go ahead.
Stories that start with fight sequences. It works in movies. Like, it works completely fine because there's a visual spectacle. And you can just make the fight cool. But people want to do that in written form with a character the reader doesn't know or care about. It drives me nuts.
I'm trying to. When do you mean starting off with a fight? Is it like you open the book and the first,
like chapter 1, page 1, like, oh, the werewolf slammed Gwen against the wall?
Oh, no. I mean, no, I haven't really had the patience to go through those because it's just a bit too much at one time.
There is an entire type of person that will find a fight sequence in a book, skip to the end, and just skip it, which I think is bizarre. But in the context of like starting the story, I kind of understand it.
Right.
Because if I don't care about the fate of a character, why would I care if they're in danger? Is an issue I keep encountering with, like, when I'm beta reading other amateur authors, which I do unfortunately still consider myself an amateur, though I'm asking money for my writing. Until I'm full time, I consider myself an amateur.
Well, I mean, this is how I view myself in the quote-unquote art part. I don't like calling myself an artist until I've started, making proper numbers in a way or another. So I can understand that one.
All right, so you're on hand number 4, apparently.
It is a bitch figuring out hands because I'm trying to make it work there, and it's like, no, you're not. And it's like, oh, fine, great. Sorry if that's boring.
No, I was just watching that. I was like, the problem is I understand your issue of, like, how do you make a dynamic pose that's interesting for, like, this is a semi-cyborg gunslinger.
Yeah.
What do you do with the other? It's like full-on introvert autism of, like, wait, where am I supposed to put my hands right now? In my pockets, across my arms, on my hips, put them behind my back? What do I do with my hands?
Basically like the Doctor from the Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I need the hands! Give me the hand! That's basically me right now. Desperately trying to make it work.
The hands where you have to get the secret data. Right.
Oh.
I really should be playing Metal Gear Rising. I was listening to the soundtrack today. It's such a good soundtrack. Holy crap.
You too, huh? Because I've been spending like an hour listening to Red Sun in Paradise. Red Sun over Paradise. I mean, I love every single boss battle theme, but my favorite is always a toss-up between Red Sun and Stains of Time.
Interesting. I wouldn't even consider those. So it has to be this way is like top tier, I think, as the climax of the game, right?
Oh yeah, this is not meaning I'm throwing any shade on any of the other songs, because to me, I love the entire goddamn soundtrack. So it's not that I prefer anyone any less, it's just that after spending years listening to it, I finally figured out which one I can listen to the most. And it's Stains of Time and Red Sun.
The theme song from the Magneto guy, I'm literally going to have to, like, loop that song for the entire time that I'm writing the 3rd book in the Bastion Blackstone series.
Oh, that is Stains of Time.
No, it's not. It's Collective Consciousness.
No, the Magneto guy, Monsoon, he is Stains of Time. Yeah, the Collective Conscious is the giant robot ant with swords that you tear off his arm and fucking devastate it with.
No, that's Rules of Nature.
No, Rules of Nature is the giant Metal Gear Ray with plasma cannons.
Oh, you're talking about the spider Metal Gear at the end.
No, that's Collective Conscious.
Stains of Time isn't Stains of Time the wolf?
No, that is Leave It All Behind, I think. I don't remember the name of that one, but I know it starts with that howling sound.
Oh, by the way, the only thing I know for real is great.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. You're given... No, there's no way.
There's no way what?
Collective Consciousness is from Monsoon. I refuse to
No, it is not. It is not.
Fuck no, you're right.
Okay, the thing is, I've gone through that soundtrack so many times that I can almost sing along the entire goddamn soundtrack. Don't doubt me on this.
Life goal, I need to get some kind of visual adaptation of one of my works that has a soundtrack as good as Metal Gear Rising.
Oh yeah. I mean, one of the few games that has something kind of similar is DMC5. I am a big fan of Nero's theme.
So I found Devil May Cry 4 to be a better game. I'm just saying.
I mean, that's yours. I'm not. The thing is, I'm not into the DMC series. I haven't played a single DMC game, so sorry about that. If that's heresy, I apologize on beforehand. It never really.
There is something bizarre about Japan's ability to produce. How do you even say this? The tippy top of art that Japan produces is so far beyond anything coming out of the West.
Oh yeah. To me, I think it's that we dropped the sun on them twice that sealed that deal. I mean, it's a complete heel turn from what they used to be, you know.
So the best, in my opinion, the best video game I've ever played in my life is Nier Automata.
Ooh, I haven't played it, but I'm waiting for it to come out on Nintendo Switch, and then I'm gonna play it.
Okay, so Yoko Taro basically got famous because of the first Nier game. And oh god, dog, stop attacking my keyboard. What are you doing?
What kind of dog is it?
I have a Labrador Retriever.
Oh,
that
adorable.
would make a great hunting dog, except for the fact that I don't really hunt enough to warrant that.
I mean, Labradors are good boys in general.
60-pound ball of love and energy.
Those are adorable.
Anyway, so he got interviewed on what his inspiration was for Nier Replicant / Replicant. Reincarnation is the mobile game, which I still haven't played because it's a mobile game.
Yes.
In Nier Replicant, there have you played that one?
I haven't played any of the Nier games.
You're missing out.
I know.
It is a bizarre, almost self-aware video game world setup where it's hard to even explain, but the important thing is you're fighting these enemies that have a language that only gets translated halfway through the game.
Really?
And I don't want to spoil it because you should just play it, but he said that his direct inspiration was 9/11. And
okay.
He was just like, yeah, no, I was trying to make a commentary on people turning on each other and no longer having trust in their fellow countrymen. Suddenly, there were terrorists behind every kebab stand. And it's just like, oh, this person had something to say. This person had the creative vision to make a world that immerses you and gets you engaged and then makes you think. And then Japan had the wherewithal, as an entertainment industry, had the wherewithal to throw millions and millions of dollars at him to make Nier Automata. And he did it even better with Automata.
Lovely. It's one of those examples where an artist gets free reign to do whatever he wants and he does it well. He warrants the trust. He warrants the freedom.
I swear what happens in Hollywood is focus group writing.
They have no soul in Hollywood. They lost that soul years ago. I doubt they even had it nowadays.
It is I try to emulate that level of artistry. And I hope I surpass it. The goal would be to surpass it, but holy shit.
That's good. That's good. That's something that just, again, just hypes me up even more for your products.
Yeah, Metal Gear, I put in the same category of like, you get into like the actual writing of Metal Gear Solid 2 and so on, and the subjects that Hideo Kojima was trying to address, or successfully addressing, arguably.
Yeah.
There's a reason they stick around. There's a reason that they resonate with people, and we're here, what, 13 years later, still talking about Metal Gear Rising?
Yeah. It is not because only of its themes, but Metal Gear Rising wasn't just an action to me. It spoke to me more, than it did in many ways. And I liked Armstrong not only because of his charisma, but there was parts of what he said that just resonated, but he did it in ways I didn't like, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, he's that villain who's like, okay, I understand this guy, and it's kind of scary that I do. And I love it when that happens.
Armstrong is a very understandable reaction. And I think as the years pass and we see more and more of what Carl Benjamin, I believe, has dubbed a feminine totalitarianism, I am becoming more and more amenable to Armstrong. Fuck it, might makes right.
Yeah, it's just he promised a struggle in a way, but it's not just he promises a struggle, he promises a reward for the struggle. The ultimate freedom to do whatever you want. And that is, honestly, to someone who hasn't really taken his own freedom in his own hands, the idea is kind of terrifying, but it's also very tantalizing. Does that make sense to you?
I'm telling you, take 6 hours and listen to the audiobook of Bronze Age Mindsight. That right there is basically the entire point of Bronze Age Perverts. It's kind of a manifesto, essentially.
Okay.
He's basically just making the point of all of history, all of progress, all of life comes down to the pursuit of great people pursuing their own desires and freedom. And it's very interesting, I'll say. I'm not going to say I agree with it. But...
I mean, it can be interesting, and points can be found even in people you disagree with. And that is something that has disappeared completely. I mean, I know that when I'm on the Sultans, I kind of appear a bit like the hyper-conservative, doomer kind of guy. But honestly, I'm a bit of a progressive, or I used to be, at least. I don't mind calling people they, them. In all trueness, I never would have cared. But if I'm forced to do something, and if my lack of understanding results in me being, attacked for it, I just double down and go the opposite way, just out of spite. And that is
powerful.
Yeah, which is why I've just completely gone against the whole SJW thing. Which is, in turn, I could have been one of them. Easily. I could have easily been there. But I had friends who...
Anyone can be a social justice warrior if social justice actually achieved social justice.
Exactly, but it's just one big disgusting lie. And it's honestly just how to make a villain. Step 1, 2, 3. That's how I view it.
It's one of the methods to villainy.
Yeah, I mean, there are many. You have the sympathetic one, but it's just, good intent, but sooner or later, when you go that road, you see that you are not the good guy anymore. I have more respect for people who see it and just embrace it afterwards than those who just still cling on to, no, we're good people. Well, that's just me.
Keep in mind, the average person is pretty stupid, and half of people are stupider than average.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm in the latter one.
What, stupider than average?
Oh yeah, I'm never gonna make the mistake of calling myself a smart person ever, because I'm not. I made mistakes, and I will keep making
I have a
mistakes.
college degree in engineering. I get to say I'm smart.
You do, yeah, because I have it proved. But there's difference between intelligence and wisdom, as
Oh,
I
for
view
sure.
it.
That's why they're good stats in D&D.
Yes. And also, you can just notice because you can have a dumb guy who's like intelligent, low, but and now I'm talking about real life here. But he has so much life experience that he's wise as all hell. I mean, that's why we revere the wise person in front of the intelligent person, as I view it.
So there is a interesting quote that goes something like, "We think about the future so that our ideas die instead of us."
Yeah.
Which means, when you think about it, if you just had a long and strife-filled life, and you've just had the conflict, whether or not you've thought about it or not, congratulations, you have built up the repertoire of competency that someone who does a lot of thinking has built up. You just did it the hard way.
Yeah. Maybe. It takes a lot of time to me to just start consideration and just get into that mood. It's not something I get into from nowhere. I'm a bit of a slow guy, as you might have noticed.
You know, it can be surprisingly hard to notice in a lot of conversations. It can also be surprisingly quick when you just like ask someone, like a coworker, like, "So what do you do after work?" "Oh, I watch Netflix."
Yeah.
"Oh, you don't have a hobby? You don't have any goals or projects?" "No." And it's like,
Just
oh, okay, I see. There's nothing going on up there, is there?
nah. I mean, I tend to go into something like that when I'm on the boat. Just find something to make time pass, really.
You know, if you're stuck on a boat, understandable. Like, there's almost a gag about that in Ship of Fools, where like months into hiding, like as the violence is escalating, like the main character Marcus, like at one point he just wants to sit in a room by himself, drink, and watch a cartoon from his childhood.
Yeah. It's too bad I can't drink. But that is the rule for security and nothing else. But yeah, it's just how it is.
You don't get a rum ration anymore?
Nah. If you are even suspected to have been drinking, you will be thrown off the ship, given an alcohol breather test, and if it proves that you are drunk or in any way consumed alcohol, you're off the boat and fired, lifetime, never coming back.
That's ridiculous.
It is extremely strict, but then again, there's been so many accidents at sea that it's become a very necessary rule, let's just put it like that. The Concordia is a reason, have strict rules, and they have to be enforced. Of course, you can't have medications and stuff to, function, but it has to be gone through the proper channels. If you go on without mentioning it, then that counts as a strike against you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I should get you to read Ship of Fools and then tag you in as a beta reader when I write the sequel. Because there will be a sequel eventually, hopefully next year.
Hey.
I'm making questionable career choices, though, because all the money is in series.
So you don't have a standalone book?
So the plan is I'm going to release 4 books a year on average is the plan. In addition to my web novel, which apparently is like 3 to 4 novels worth of content every year. And I'm going to release at least one installment of Elliot Blackstone's story. But I want to write other stuff, standalone books like The Heist, Infinite Money Glitch. I'm not planning a sequel to that.
No.
Which in all likelihood means I'm kind of going to launch that, and it's going to not get noticed. And maybe in 2 years, when I've released 4 books of Blackstone, people will start checking out what else I've read, because I swear consumers only look at a series if it's already got 3 to 4 to 5 installments.
Yeah, it's about investing time. I've been guilty of that sometimes. I can't really go against it.
There's just something to be said for a one-and-done story. I really like the appeal of it as an author. You know, I get to just make a world with characters that I don't need to keep track of between books and so on. I can just have scenes and interactions, and I can allude to bigger stories. But I can stay focused on, you know, here's Wolf High Tackle's heist. And move on. I tell one good story, and then I go do it again with some other ideas. Yeah. I don't get, like, stuck to one particular thing I created however many years ago, right?
Yeah. But you can mention it in a future story if it's in the same universe.
Unfortunately, so yes, that is something I'm doing. Is the plan is there's one big timeline, that is the Bastion timeline, that's going to have the majority of my stories, and everything else is going to be like I'm going to pull a Tarantino, and all of my other stories are going to be stories in Bastion.
Okay.
So, like, the cartoon from Marcus's childhood is called Embrace the Blood.
Right.
Because that's the title I'm going to use for a young adult, cute girls fighting demons book series I'm going to write soon, eventually. I know I'm going to write it, because I've plotted it out, I've built it up, and it's going to be great. I'm just not rushing to do it.
Nice.
And that's the tie-in, is... This story is a story in Bastion, and the characters in there go in and talk about it. Like, that's one of their cultural touchstones. Which I think is cool.
Yeah. Well, those are kind of cool, though. There are some stories that are there. You just tell the story tell a fiction within the fiction. It's not exactly the same, but something similar is the stories told in the Kingkiller Chronicles. When he tells a different. That is a really good book series. After I was finished with Dresden Files, I got into the Kingkiller Chronicles. It's a really good story. The main character is really.
There's a lot of good stories out there. There are a lot of good stories.
Oh yeah.
It's almost kind of depressing to think about.
Well, in a way that you won't be able to read them all, but it's also heartening that there are.
As a competitor,
yeah.
I have to convince people to read my shit instead of Dresden Files, instead of Wheel of Time, instead of Cormac McCarthy's stuff.
But the thing is, though, you can look at it like that everyone else is a competition, but you can also look at it that they're also a gateway to get into it. Because if you have similarities with other authors, you can market that. Like, basically, this is how I got into a series called Skullduggery Pleasant, was that after Harry Potter finished, Skullduggery was already in its 4th book, but, I think 5 maybe, but it started being like, yeah, now that you're done with Harry Potter, how about you want to try a different one? It was like, I don't remember quite how it tried to market itself, but it was in the same vein if you still wanted urban fantasy or something like that. And through Skullduggery Pleasant, I was introduced to Dresden Files. Real good stories.
I've heard of Skullduggery before. I've heard good things about it.
It is.
That's why I remember the name.
It is Irish, and I swear to God, every time I read the book, Skullduggery is talking in Johnny Depp's voice and way of speaking. It's just such a Johnny Deppian character, let's just say that, if that is a word.
Interesting. Dude, I really gotta get through my to-read pile.
Yeah.
I have set myself a self-assigned holiday of on September 1st. I'm going to buy back up to 20 books from my to-read shelf.
Nice.
I think I currently have like 16 books in it. So I'll be buying at least 4 books on the 1st, plus whatever I can finish in the next few weeks.
Good. Then you can go through them, see what is, if they're any good. Then if there's something good there, you can, inspire.
Well, yeah, that's it. I'm trying to pick books that will make me a better author. Like the reason I'm reading Anton Chekhov right now is because I get recommended a craft book, and normally I steer away from craft, like people telling me how to write. For the record, Brandon Sanderson's college lecture series that he keeps uploading to YouTube year over year is really good.
Oh.
There's a lot of really dumb, repeated, and not very useful advice on YouTube about how to write. But I have a book called The Film Novelist by Dennis J. Packard that I'm giving a try based on a recommendation. And like chapter 1 was just like, in order to understand the evolution of the story to what is currently accepted, you should probably check out some books from the appendix, such as The Duel by Anton Chekhov. So I'm basically reading it as a historical thing, right?
Yeah.
I also try to read other self-published authors. And they can be interesting, especially when I know them and I end up going like, hey, you need to like improve X, Y, or Z or whatever about your writing. Because picking apart a bad book can still make me better at writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that one. See, having an example of how not to do it.
Right, or just like getting offensively slapped in the face with how much I don't like this sociopathic girl as the main character really will reinforce like why I make characters the way I make them. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that is a good way of using it. Take a subpar experience and turning it good. Or like something where you're a bit divided, like there's a story where you like where it's going, you like aspects of it, but it doesn't really go where you want it to go, right?
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Konosuba?
Yes.
The Konosuba light novels, I'm super conflicted about. Because they're very enjoyable to read, because they're funny and I like their characters. But there's like nothing to learn from them. They are just like 2.5 days of fun reading. You can read that fast.
Wow. Have you read Animorphs?
Have you read what now?
Animorphs?
Not familiar.
That is written by K.A. Applegate, sort of a teenage story, teenage action series. It's about a bunch of teenagers getting the ability to acquire the DNA of other animals and then being able to morph into said animals.
Sounds very furry.
It could have been furry, but they don't do any yiffing. Instead, they brutally tear out the throats of alien monsters covered in blades or giant squishy centipede things who have a limitless hunger for flesh, and if you cut up a wound in them, they'll start eating themselves.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And the main characters, one of the main good guy races, quote unquote, are a centaur-like deer species with long tails that can cut you so quickly you don't see the blade moving. You just hear the noise, and suddenly you're missing a limb.
Is this an anime or a Western book?
It's a Western book.
Huh.
It is
Okay.
honestly one of my favorite books from childhood, and it is a sci-fi fantasy. That's the best description of it. And one thing that's funny is that K.A. Applegate, when she ended the story, she ended it in sort of a. I'm not going to spoil it, but she ended it in a way that got a lot of hate because people didn't get the Hollywood victory dance that people are used to. It's instead a bit more tragic story like that. Characters end in midst of despair. They change. Some relationship don't end the way you wanted it, right? And it started. I became really conflicted because so bitter yet sweet in its way, bittersweet, right? And that's how I acquired the taste for a bittersweet story. And she made a blog post about that, and it was just everything that bothered me of it just clicked that moment. It's like, oh my god. It has its moments as a little bit, okay, this is clearly for teenagers, but then there are moments that are just, holy shit.
So I look forward to you picking up a copy of Ship of Fools. Because, like, no matter how it ends, it's clear, it should be clear, like, halfway through the book, that, like, no matter what happens, so many people have been killed in the infighting at this point, and so many mistakes have been made, that there is no good ending to this.
I kind of like that. It's the one thing about having a good bad ending, like a bittersweet ending. It's about making it fit, right? If you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
It's about the complete feeling. There we go. That's what I'm after. When I finish a story, it doesn't matter if it's a good ending or a bad ending. It has to be complete. I don't care if the main character dies. I don't honestly care much about that. I just want it to be an ending I can sit down and just put down and realize that this story has ended and I feel satisfied with that. And the first time I got that was from Animorphs. I just didn't understand it until a few years later.
Animorphs. Okay, I finally caught your pronunciation.
Oh, sorry. It's Norwegian. I used the Norwegian way of saying it. Sorry. Sorry.
I did not read Animorphs, but I am aware of it.
Yes. It is a really good story, and it has some amazing goddamn world building in it.
By the way, is there a reason you're giving her the code Geass?
Is this code Geass?
Kind of.
Huh.
Like it's like halfway between the code Geass symbol and an input-output symbol.
I was going for input-output, but then I started adding things to it. It's like, no, it's not
it's
really.
The wings switch it to code Geass, especially with the anime discussion.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The only way I've watched Code Geass has been the Code Geass abridged series by Purple Eyes for the Win.
Dude, Code Geass will always have a special place in my memories.
Okay.
I'm not sure it holds up anymore, but I liked it a lot.
That's nice. Well, it's important that you remember. That's the most important thing about the story. It needs to be memorable. You know, it doesn't have to be legendary or groundbreaking or so inclusive, as many people try nowadays. It has to be memorable, and technically the most important thing for a story is to achieve cult status. At least that's my opinion. Might be wrong, but that's just how I think.
Well, I would be very happy to achieve cult status.
I'll cross my fingers for you, dude.
I've got a few story ideas that I'm almost hesitating to write because I look at them and I go, this is the scope of what I want to attempt with this story. This is the impact I want it to have on the reader. Am I good enough to do that yet? I hesitate.
I mean, that's why you have stories which authors spend most of their lives doing. I mean, like Silmarillion was a life's work for Tolkien, basically.
Yeah, I can't read the Silmarillion. I am one of those people I can't do it.
That's
I'm
alright.
fine with Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but the Silmarillion bores the freaking shit out of me.
That is fair. I mean, we're all different people with different tastes, right? What do you find boring, I might find really interesting. I am a bit of a lore whore when it comes to things. It's like, aside from memes and shit, I really get into lore videos.
So, you want to guess the last Tolkien work I read?
The Hobbit?
Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, as translated by Tolkien.
Oh.
Because that's the kind of stuff I read, is Middle English poetry about fairy tales. I find it to be surprisingly compelling.
That is actually pretty cool. Let's see.
My personal belief is in order to tell the best stories I can, I need to be consuming a variety, like as broad of a variety as possible. Because I do need to dabble in like the current bestsellers and stuff. I'm going to be borrowing a bestseller on Monday from a friend. Hopefully that doesn't make me want to freaking set it on fire.
I mean, it would suck if he borrows you the book and you turn it to ashes, but hey. You could blame it on the dog, I guess.
Bestsellers nowadays and award winners are not good.
I mean, I have a word for those, and that is lies. It's
That's
just
a whole nother discussion.
Yeah. There's one series I listened through on Audible, and it was the Bewilderment Saga. And honestly, it's something that I might not even have picked up. It's a really short series of 3 booklets, and it's not perfect, it's not the best thing ever, but it has its moment, and it's actually engaging. A nice short story and thing. It sort of ends on a cliffhanger, which promises that it can continue, but you never know. I found it engaging. I liked it. A bit weird in the end, but it's part of the book. There's a little bit of a whole modern side to it, but it doesn't just follow the standard, if you know what I'm saying.
Sort of. You can mean quite a few things with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm really bad at explaining things. Sorry. There's a reason why I'm not going into politics.
You lack the two-faced ambition for power and money required?
Yes. Basically that, and I can't keep a conversation going straight for like... Maybe to save myself in desperate situation, but don't hold your breath. Let's see. I have no idea what this thing is. I'm just making something.
Call that a neural implant socket, I guess.
There we go. Okay. I'm okay with that. Stealing that. I mean, using that.
So I did something which may not have landed for all people who read Faceless.
Alright.
Because I conjectured that the future, the glorious, wonderful future that we all can't wait for it to happen, is that corporations are going to interface with their employees with a official VTuber, essentially.
Okay.
Like,
so you're saying Iron Mouse is going to become the face of the corporations?
No, Iron Mouse is actually a nice person, as far as I can tell. I'm talking like how Netflix has a sheep girl VTuber to do YouTube adverts for their anime acquisitions, and how Wendy's has some chirper on Twitter making memes. That's the future that is part of what I'm examining in Bastion.
Huh.
That's my flavor of mega corporation.
You know, I'm not gonna say you're a prophet, but you know, you might achieve that status in a few years.
If I can sell enough books that I can afford to fund just like promo art, which is not the most expensive thing, but like I'm not selling that many copies of my book yet, so it actually becomes questionable. Like I want to get like busts of them drawn of all the various mega corporation VTuber girls that Detective Blackstone has to like deal with whenever he's like in. Let me go into the Romulus apartment buildings. Oh, to get through the door, I have to talk to the Wolf Girl.
Okay, I can see that one.
And like in the stories of the books, like he finds it ridiculous because he's kind of a boomer in that way.
Lovely.
But I also make a point of showing that like other people enjoy the fact that there's a quote unquote personable face to the company.
Yeah. Well, again, what I like about VTubers is just that there's a person behind it, and they embrace the role they have made for themselves to the point where it's just they seem more real than the goddamn cam streamers.
What I find bizarre is that like every time one of the popular VTubers like meets someone IRL, I swear it's like every time you find clips of other people going, the people they meet going, holy crap, I can't believe how cute and attractive she is, despite being a VTuber. Like she has no need to be a VTuber.
Well, that's the thing though. When you're how did I hear? I think I've heard it said from one of them that it's not heard. They wrote some place had it. One of them writing it that it's easier to just relax and just be behind the avatar than to sit in front of a camera because it removes certain expectation. Because when you're nowadays being a female streamer, it's just ruined by all the fucking, oh, show your tits, haha, right? The horny streamers, the simps, right?
And surprisingly enough, I watch clips of VTubers. The only streamers I watch are like Smallland and Ludwig.
Yeah. And it's
so I actually don't have much exposure to like e-simps.
Yeah.
Although I do like talking about them and maligning them in my writing.
I mean, you should. They deserve it. But the thing is that there are streamers that have actually just gone to VTubing, not because it's a hot new thing, but it's easier for them to just connect to their own fan base because you no longer have the camera there. You no longer have the people who just hopes to see a nip slip, right?
Maybe. Okay, so hear me out. I'm going to eventually switch to VTubing myself for these kinds of calls and interviews and such. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get like the Unreal Engine like generic NPC model #1 wireframe and rig that up as a VTuber avatar.
I respect that. Oh. Yeah, there's some people.
Like all people doing like lolly anime girls. No, I'm just gonna be like I'm gonna be like out of Tron or something.
Oh, have you seen have you seen the Russian Badger?
No.
No, he's a YouTuber I'm a big fan of, and there's a guy there in his videos who goes by Heavenly Father, and he's now a VTuber too. But he has taken a skin from the Apex series and just, not directly skin, but something that is inspired by it, and just uses that. I think the character's called Nox or some shit. I'm not into any of those games, but...
Nox is from Apex Legends?
I have no idea. It's basically a dude with a lot of gas weapons. It'd be really popular in the Fourth Reich.
Yeah, I got that game explained to me so strangely because my first exposure to Apex Legends was the advertising campaign. Like, oh my god, this is the most diverse, whatever shooter ever. And so I was just like, well, okay, good for you. Because I don't like that genre of game anyways.
Nah.
And I said, I was like, I'm not interested in a game that their selling point is diversity rather than the quality of the game.
Whenever I hear diversity, I just tune out immediately because then it's like, oh, we making it shit on purpose. Okay, fine.
I don't go that far. My interpretation is we've made a bad product, so we're coping super hard by begging for diversity representation. I just assume it's cope.
Yeah, that's basically what I meant.
So I basically told that to a friend who was playing it, and he was like, "No, there's one white male." I was like, "Really?" Yeah. Oh, it's the German guy that traps people in rooms and gasses them to death.
Yeah, basically that guy. That is inclusive. I mean, it's historically accurate.
How did that get approved?
Maybe they made him a white supremacist or some shit. Who knows?
Well, apparently it got approved because he's like the worst character to play as in a competitive sense. That's what he told me.
I don't know what is called caustic, noxious, or whatever, but Heavenly Father has made a character that is sort of based on that guy, if I remember correctly. I see him in some streams here and there. It's a bit funny. But the thing is that behind there, you can actually just embrace a role, and even if you get a little bit real about your own life, it still is a mask between you and other people, and that is kind of liberating to some people, I assume.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I can understand that, like, with what's going on with, like, current VTubers. I just think it's going to get corrupted by corporations.
Oh, it's already being corrupted.
My job as a science fiction author, right? To talk about the shit future.
I mean, you really should. That can be a really fucking good story. Because good social commentary, it can be the do or die of a story, in my opinion.
That's why I go for it. Like, currently there is one review on YouTube of Faceless and one interview on it. Which you can check out. You can check out the interview on the Unreal Press podcast, which I have quite a few co-host episodes on. If you're listening.
Okay.
And one of the things that both of them, like basically everyone who's read Faceless, one of the things they comment is like Chris Y, who did the review, he doesn't normally like cyberpunk, and there is like baggage to the cyberpunk genre. Like if you look at Cyberpunk 2077, there's like A, bugs, and B, it's just like one of the things that everyone talks about is like the body modification aspect.
Yeah.
Which is a bit tied up with, say, wanting to change your gender.
Yeah, well, I can see that one. At least in modern days. To me, the body modification is just the whole, can you use technology to improve nature?
I don't really go into body modification because I focus more on virtual reality with Bastion. And that's kind of one of the conceits of the setting is like people get through the day. You know, they work their job to get their money, to get their food, and then they just plug into the fantasy.
Yeah.
Which detective is not interested in at all. As much as he can help it, he does not.
I mean, it's one of the things that made me really enjoy the Ready Player One book. I don't like the movie. Yeah, the movie was shit, and it makes me angry. But I mean, it's a good popcorn movie, but it's not a good adaptation.
Right. But the comment and description I keep getting on Bastion is how relatable it is because of how close to modern day I made the setting.
Yeah.
Like, despite the fact that it's in a It's in a mega city the size of some European countries,
Oh.
despite the fact that like the entire area is 80-foot story skyscrapers packed and edge to edge like like a Dyson sphere from out of Tsutomu Nihei's Blame.
So it's into, Norway is a city there, right?
Pretty much, but when you get to what people are actually doing, they're working factory jobs. They come home late. They have some whiskey with a friend and talk about their marriage problems. What are the police doing? They're getting called because, my deadbeat tenant keeled over in his apartment. I need the police to investigate it so I can clear it out and get someone else to rent this apartment from here. Oh, there's drunks causing a fight in the bar. I need you to come throw them out.
Yeah.
So, like, despite all the technology, like the fact that people can just plug into freaking Sword Art Online if they want to, life isn't ever going to change that much.
Ooh. Well, that is, well, what you described so far made it seem like the most fucking realistic cyberpunk I've heard in my entire life. That is exactly how I view things will be in the future. We're not going to get cool body modifications or shit like that. There's just going to be monotony.
Oh, there is going to be body modifications, especially so. Blackstone takes place in like 2140, and there's going to be more books in 2150, where some of the kids from Blackstone series are now adults.
Okay.
And like there are cybernetic prostheses. I have one outlined where I keep thinking about it because you're sitting here drawing a cybernetic gunslinger girl. Like that's going to be one of my characters. Through a female soldier who, through circumstances, had to get all 4 of her limbs amputated.
Oh, maybe. Ta-da! Preview. Sorry, couldn't help it.
They have the technology to replace the limbs, and they're arguably better than flesh and blood. But when if a person asks the question of like, well, would I intentionally amputate an otherwise functional arm to get that? It's just kind of like, no, there's no real reason to spend that money because, let's be real, you're probably just living in virtual reality. Like, you don't need a robot arm to drink a beer.
Nope. And honestly, that is the question I love about cyberpunks, or like cybernetic modification. That is something I adore with it. Like, can you overcome nature with technology? And if yes, is it worth it?
So there's a role-playing game called Cyberpunk. Jesus, is it Cyberpunk 2020? Oh my god, how old is that game?
It is pretty old. I mean, I didn't know this thing existed until Arch and Sargon played it years ago.
So if I recall correctly, because I tried learning it, and I was just like, this mechanically seems to be a mess. But they have like cyber psychosis, which is a really like 1980s idea of like, oh, you're going to lose your humanity as you lose body parts and so on, and as you assimilate with the machine. Like the Adeptus Mechanicus from Warhammer 40k have a bit of the same idea. I just don't buy into it.
I'm on a bit mixed bag there because I can see where it comes from, because the human body needs more than just the brain in order to, function. And if you lose too much parts without decent enough replacements, something's going to go wrong.
So if you're looking at it from that perspective, you're probably talking about like hormone feedback cycles and such, which is information received back from organs. And I'm not proposing that machines are going to ever replace your stomach or your heart. But your limbs don't really do that, to my knowledge.
No. Well, there's the feedback from the limbs. Again, it is all up in the air, and from certain aspects, I see how it is possible, but there are other ways that just, which I am not good at explaining and remembering right now. But I've heard arguments that say that it's impossible because there are certain nerve connections that just is impossible to perfectly replicate in a way that is long time healthy, and it'll just end up in your body rejecting it because it knows it is not a real part of the body. It'll just be a body-wide imposter syndrome. That's just one of the theories I've heard.
I do have like a general feeling that we're probably not actually going to be able to make a limb better than the human limb.
Nah.
Mostly because of the current capacity for self-repair. Like, yeah. you might be able to get short-term gains just by saying, oh, well, you need a mechanic to fix it. But there's a lot to be said for the fact that, like, you cut your arm open, you can literally just leave it alone and it fixes itself.
Yep. Though there's one thing, I think that biomechanical is sort of the cybernetic people are after. At least that's how I view it. If you're gonna go somewhere, it's probably gonna be the biomechanical.
It's kind of an interesting question for me because I want to write in two distinctly separate time zones, because Bastion, the cyberpunk future in this timeline, is 2140 after basically the end of the world. So technologically, it's more like 2060, I would say, is what the technology I'm targeting. And I also want to have a bunch of sci-fi in 21500, basically.
Okay.
Or, you know what I mean. Or sorry, 3500. That's the correct math. Which means that the technology then has to be leagues better than what I show in Bastion.
Yes.
Because it's the future of Bastion, which means it has to be better.
Have you heard of Peter F. Hamilton's The Void Trilogy or Commonwealth Saga?
I have not.
That is basically what happens between the Commonwealth Saga and the Void Trilogy. Technology just improves to the point of nearly being fantasy. Also really good stories. I love them.
Cool.
Though they're really Tolkien in the way the guy just explains things, but it's still engaging. It's just the main plot it doesn't engage until halfway through the first book. First part is the murder mystery, and then fucking comes to hard sci-fi experience.
Interesting.
It
Unfortunately,
yeah.
I'm not sure I can schedule reading that anytime soon because the next free books I plan to get, aside from like I'm gonna pick up like Nietzsche's Will to Power and book the Enuma Elish on Mesopotamian mythology and such.
Mm-hmm.
My plan is I'm going to actually attack the Western genre.
Oh.
Which is unfortunately a genre famous because of the movies, which might make things a little tricky. Also, because I'm not actually going to write in the American West, I want to emulate the structure and the themes, but set it during a zombie apocalypse.
I can respect that. But what kind of zombies are you going to do? I'm sorry for just trailing that one, but zombies are kind of a hit and miss for me. I love them, but only if they're done right. Or well. Well is the right way to say it. The way these zombie stories always go is zombies are like a reason for people to kill other people. Yeah.
There almost is, like, I've thought really hard about this. There basically is not a way to make zombies a world-ending threat.
Not unless you make them so powerful that they're unstoppable. Like, 28 Days Later is a pretty good one, but,
True.
they're too overpowering to be anything. You can't make something like in the future with this. It has to be the story of the fall. You can't make a post-apocalypse zombie story where the zombies make sense, you know, as a long-standing threat.
What we've just learned over the last few years is how fragile the economy is to that kind of disruption.
Yes.
And then just, you know, if the trucking industry stops, you have your apocalypse.
Yes. The apocalypse is going to be made by something a lot more mundane than the corpses rising from the grave.
So of course they do start rising because I have a whole disease and a progression of symptoms figured out that I'm confident enough in the infectivity that I think it will create a situation where there are zombies. They're going to kind of be like the flood for Halo.
Ooh.
The idea is that, like, at first, they're going to be almost incapable of moving their bodies as the infection is just taking over, and then that's when you get the shamblers. And if they don't get taken out at that stage, the competency kicks in, and they start, and some of them are, like, 28 days later runners, and I'm still deciding if they're tool capable. Like, can a zombie operate a doorknob is an important question.
That is, I mean, depending on how you do it, the zombie's either going to be too powerful, or it's just going to be powerful enough to be a threat, but not on a scale. How am I going to say this properly?
And then the third stage.
Yes?
After it's killed, if it's not burned, the infection will start cannibalizing the body, and bloating it up and pressurizing it like certain spore ejecting plants.
Yes.
And when it's disturbed, sprays the infection into the air.
Oh.
Which will be the actual most dangerous, most likely way to get infected.
It seems to me like you've taken a bit of all the best, like, infected / stories, zombie stories, and just made a really good combination.
Thank you.
One thing that I figured is pretty key, or this is how I've seen it, and again, very faulty views at times, so just feel free to correct me or counter me, but what is essential in a zombie apocalypse story is stagnation. It is a after the fall story, unless you do one of those that is during the fall. The zombies have been around for years. Huh?
What I want to do is a series of novellas where it follows, like, one guy who keeps showing up to, like, settlements that are trying to survive.
Yes.
And his influence causes just the abject collapse of that settlement for a variety of reasons.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yes. The one I have in mind, I'm roughly.
Is it unintentional or is it malicious?
I want him to be like a monkey's paw.
Oh, well-intentioned, but in the end.
And such as, like, you know, the guy in charge is, say, a sexual predator, but he's also, like, the most competent one at dealing with zombies and organizing, controlling people, yada, 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 yada. There's valid reasons that they have survived so far because of him.
Yeah.
However, he is not a good person.
No.
And, you know, the monkey's paw guy shows up, and it's not like he's in a conflict with that guy, but, you know, there's a maligned victim of his asks for his help, and the monkey's paw guy just goes, I can help you, sure, for a price. I'll give you exactly what you're asking for. And, you know, he gives her exactly what she asks for, and a lot of people then die.
Yes, I like that. That I like.
But, you know, I want to read, like, at least 5 good westerns to give it that flair of the mysterious stranger, the lone wanderer showing up to, quote-unquote, solve the problem.
Yeah.
I've got Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian as my first dabble in the genre in a literary sense.
Nice.
But the idea calls to me.
I can understand that one, and I do see the appeal of it myself. There are, like, something that reminds me of that is Castlevania's the animated series. I think it's third season. When they get into that village where the night creatures are running around, and you find the guy who has been keeping it all together. Not really a good person. Not a good person at all. Even if he's fucking helpful and competent, he has some hobbies which he uses that keeps him sane, so to speak, but they're not really anything good for anyone.
I don't think I watched the third season. Which season was the one where the wizard made the giant meatball of zombies and was flinging it at the magical black guy?
That is the third one.
I remember nothing else except he's the magical black guy.
That's the third one.
That was the third one?
That was the third season. The first two seasons was basically building up the fall of Dracula.
Seasons 1 and 2 then were really good, but after that was just like, what am I watching?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the third season. It was a bit weird at times, and seeing Alucard taking it in the...
Vampires, I think it?
Huh?
You liked the BDSM lesbian vampires?
Who doesn't like BDSM lesbian vampires? What? It depends on the setting and how you use them, but Carmilla isn't the villain I like. I love to hate her, but she doesn't have any redeeming qualities. I'm more into her younger sister. That sounded weird. Never mind. She's a better character. A good manipulative half-villain.
How did we get on this discussion?
I have no idea. We went on zombies, I guess? Oh yeah, your story reminded me.
Like, bad people holding things together, right?
Yes. And I'm okay with that. Because you can also have good people doing bad things for their own reason. Because you can have good characters, but who are also selfish. Which is honestly one of the reasons why I love Harry Dresden. Because he is objectively a good and moral man. It is just that he knows he has the capacity for cruelty, and there are times he indulges in it a lot. But he never truly crosses the line to become an evil person. He always actively fights it, despite just inching that bit closer to it every single time.
Alright, so we have now gone for over 2 hours. I need to go feed my dogs and such.
Yeah, and I mean, I can keep this one, I can continue with this one next time we talk. Because I really enjoyed this, and I really hope to be doing it again with you. Talk with you has been really interesting.
So, pick up a copy of my book.
Yes.
And we'll have a great time with that.
Sounds good to me. Also, you should get into Dresden, and we can nerd out about that.
You know, maybe that'll be my next audiobook. Because my audiobook reading schedule is different from my paperback reading schedule.
Yeah, well, I actually want to recommend you doing the Dresden Files as an audiobook because James Marsters is Harry Dresden.
Yeah, it's also like the most famous, speculative fiction detective series. So I'm really like obligated to read my competition.
You are, and basically when you started mentioning Faceless, I was getting a cyberpunk Dresden Files feel, and that is something that still fucking pulls me towards it.
I'll pick up a copy and see if I disappoint.
I doubt it, but I'll pick up a copy, and I'm sure I'll be thrilled.
Sounds great. It's been great talking with you, man.
Thank you, the same. You want to say something before I turn off the streamy stream?
Sure. So, I'm James Krake. I'm a brand new self-published author. If you want to support me, my 2 books that are out right now are Faceless, the Bastion Blackstone Book 1, which is a cyberpunk detective series that we've been discussing. My new book is Ship of Fools. It's a military sci-fi survival type story. I'm going to have more coming out soon. You can follow me on Twitter, on Getter. You can follow my Amazon page, apparently, and get emails when new stuff comes out by me. And if you are a fellow content creator or something you want to network, hit me up. That's what I'm actively doing right now.
And it's an enjoyable experience, I can guarantee that. Well,
Thanks.
Tomorrow I'll be hopefully releasing another time lapse, and the plan is to have it as the first stream drawing I drew, so that whatever the hell this is, or quote unquote knuckleavy. Well, I think
what I gotta get you to do is when you read Faceless, you're gonna get all these corporate VTuber waifus. You're gonna have a selection to be inspired by.
sounds good. I enjoy this. Maybe I can see. Maybe there's some references to the ones we have. Who's that VTuber?
Actually, you know what? The third book I'm going to be releasing, the VR MMO heist one. One of the gimmicks is the NPCs can watch live streamers that are playing the game they're in.
Okay.
Which are you? And so there's like 5 times in the book where there's just a video game streamer just goes off on a rant about something that they're watching for entertainment. That's their TV. And I do that to build up like what's going on with like the new expansions and the PvP meta, and then get into like what's happening to the internal market.
Okay, I need to ask this. I need to ask this. Does this mean that NPCs can stream snipe streamers?
Yes.
Awesome.
That's something that these characters do. Although if this book sells like hotcakes or whatever, I will write more in this setting.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're gonna create, because so far it's been nothing but hyping it.
So there's 5 streamers in the book that are based on streamers I watch. And I need to find someone who also watches them to figure out if they can identify them.
That can be a good drinking game, actually. Well,
I had a lot of fun writing those. I think they're like identifiable, and also it's not like I portrayed anyone poorly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Well, then I am ending the stream. Thank you all for watching, and if anyone is watching the VOD, hope you enjoyed the show. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.